Hi everyone, welcome back, thanks for joining us today. We've got another brand new story to share with you today, so let's begin. My name is Daniel, and this is the story of how the family I sacrificed everything for betrayed me in the most unimaginable way. I gave up my dreams, my time, my very sense of self, only to uncover a heartbreaking secret that left me questioning everything. The truth forced me to make the hardest decision of my life. Stay with me as I take you through the pain and the betrayal. I get home late most nights, around midnight, sometimes later. When I walk through that door, the house is always quiet. My wife, the love of my life, asleep in our bed, and the kids, they're already tucked in. I'm the last one awake, and honestly, I wouldn't have it any other way. You see, I work two jobs, one at a warehouse and the other at a bar. Long hours, tough work, it's not glamorous, but it's necessary. My family depends on me, my wife, who's been through her own battles, and my stepkids, well, they need me more than they know. I used to dream about having a family of my own, but when I met her, it felt like everything fell into place. I stepped in without question. I didn't mind, not then. I took on the role of father to two kids who barely knew what it meant to have a dad. Sarah was the rebellious one, always pushing limits, testing the waters. And then there was Liam, the quiet one, withdrawn, holding on to something deep inside he couldn't share. I tried, day after day, to break through the walls they put up. But the more I gave, the more I realized they weren't looking at me like a dad, they were just tolerating me. But I kept going, because that's what you do, right? You work hard, you sacrifice, you love. And at the end of the day, no matter how tired I felt, no matter how drained, I'd lie there in bed, knowing I was doing it all for them, and that made it worth it. I used to look forward to coming home, even if it was just for a few hours between my two jobs. Lately, though, things had started to feel different. Like the warmth I used to feel when I was with my wife had been replaced by something colder, quieter, and harder to ignore. It started with little things. My wife would sit on the couch, glued to her phone, scrolling or typing with a smirk on her face. I'd ask her what she was laughing at, trying to join in a moment, but she'd just say, "Nothing," and keep scrolling. She started running more errands, too, quick trips to the store that lasted hours. Or late-night drives to clear her head. When I asked if she was okay, her responses were sharp, like I was annoying her just by caring. "Why do you always have to ask so many questions?" she snapped one night. That stung, but I let it go. I thought, maybe she's stressed, everyone gets stressed. The kids, though, they were harder to ignore. I'd raised them like they were my own. I knew I wasn't their dad, but I thought I was doing a good job filling that role. But now, they seemed to barely tolerate me. They'd walk past me without saying hello or roll their eyes when I asked how their day was. If I tried to crack a joke, they'd mumble something under their breath and walk away. Then one night, it all came crashing down. I had just come home from a long shift at the warehouse, my back was sore, and my hands were dry and cracked from working with boxes all day. But instead of sitting down to rest, I went straight to the kitchen because nothing was prepared. I wanted to make something special for dinner, spaghetti with homemade sauce. It wasn't fancy, but I figured the kids might appreciate it, maybe it would remind them that I was trying. While I was cooking, I heard voices coming from the living room. I couldn't make out what they were saying at first, but then I heard my name. "He's so desperate to play dad," one of them said, followed by laughter. I froze, my hands still gripping the spoon, hovering over the pot of sauce. I wanted to believe I'd misheard, that they were joking about someone else. But then the other one chimed in, "Yeah, like, give it up already." Their laughter felt like knives stabbing into my chest. I didn't say anything. I didn't yell or confront them. I just turned off the stove and walked out. Outside, needing air, my hands were shaking, and for the first time in years, I felt completely out of place in my own home. Sitting on the back steps that night, I started questioning everything. Had I done something wrong? Was I trying too hard? Was I not trying hard enough? All I ever wanted was to make them feel like a real family, to give them the kind of stability I never had growing up. But now, it felt like every effort I made over the years was being thrown back in my face. I couldn't help but wonder if it was my fault, maybe I wasn't good enough, or maybe I never had a chance. But then I'd think about my wife, the woman I loved more than anything. And I'd tell myself that love was supposed to be about persistence. If you care about someone, you don't give up just because things get hard. That's what I believed, that's what kept me going. Still, a small voice in the back of my head whispered something I didn't want to admit. What if it's not enough? It was late when I came home one day, much later than usual. I had just finished my second shift at the factory, exhausted and aching from the day's work. The house was quiet, the kind of stillness that settles in when everyone is asleep. I dropped my bag by the door, loosened my shirt, and went to the kitchen to grab a glass of water. On the counter, a half-eaten bag of chips and a single wine glass told me my wife had spent the evening relaxing. As I walked past the living room toward the stairs, something caught my eye. Her phone, lying face up on the armrest of the couch, its screen glowing faintly. She had fallen asleep there. Normally, I wouldn't have paid it much attention, but something about the way it buzzed, a silent, repeating vibration, made me stop. A mix of curiosity and unease pushed me toward it. I picked it up. Her phone was unlocked. Notifications filled the screen, but one stood out. A message from an app I didn't recognize. The logo, a small flame, looked suspicious. Without thinking, I tapped it. What I saw changed everything. The app was a dating platform. Her profile was there, clear as day, with a picture of her in a provocative outfit. The bio was flirtatious, filled with words that didn't sound like the woman I thought I knew. Messages flooded the screen, active conversations with multiple men. Some were playful, others explicit. I scrolled through the chats, each line like a punch to the gut. The messages were intimate and detailed, spanning months, years even. She'd shared parts of herself I thought were only meant for me. I stood frozen, trying to make sense of what I was reading. Was this some kind of mistake? But the evidence was all there. Her lies, her betrayal, were undeniable. I sank onto the couch where she lay sleeping. She looked peaceful, completely unaware of the storm she'd unleashed in my heart. I couldn't sleep that night. I sat there, staring at the screen. Replaying the times she smiled at me, the nights we spent planning our future. The sacrifices I made to keep this family together, all of it now felt like a lie. The next morning, I didn't wait long to bring it up. I couldn't. The weight of what I discovered was too heavy to carry another second. As she poured coffee in the kitchen, I picked up her phone from the counter and opened the app. "What is this?" I asked, my voice low but trembling. She glanced at it, her expression unreadable at first, then came the shrug, a shrug, as if this was nothing. "What are you talking about?" she said casually, avoiding my eyes. I couldn't believe her indifference. The dating app, the messages, I read them all. Her face hardened. She didn't flinch, didn't deny it. Instead, she crossed her arms and looked at me as if I was the one who'd done something wrong. "You went through my phone?" she said, her voice sharp, accusing. "That's such an invasion of privacy." "Invasion of privacy?" I shot back, my voice rising. "You've been cheating on me for years, and you're worried about privacy?" She sighed, shaking her head. "You're being dramatic. You're blowing this way out of proportion." I could feel the anger boiling over. "Do you even hear yourself? How long has this been going on? Why would you do this to us?" Her expression didn't soften. If anything, it grew colder. "Us? Don't make this about the family. You've been so busy working that you barely noticed me. What did you expect?" Her words felt like daggers. I had sacrificed everything, my time, my dreams, my health, for this family. And this was her excuse, this was her justification for tearing us apart. Desperate for support, I turned to the kids later that day. I sat them down in the living room, hoping they'd understand, hoping they'd feel some of the betrayal I felt. But when I explained what had happened, their reactions crushed me further. My stepson, the older one, rolled his eyes. "Why are you making such a big deal out of this?" he said, his tone dripping with irritation. "It's not like you're a real dad or anything." His younger sister chimed in, shrugging, "Yeah, maybe you should just relax." Relax? Not their real dad? I had raised them, loved them, and provided for them, and now, in my moment of deepest pain, they dismissed me like I was nothing. At that moment, I felt completely alone. I sat in my car for hours that night, parked just a block away from the house I'd worked so hard to provide. I couldn't bring myself to go back inside, my hands gripped the steering wheel. And my mind felt like a broken record, stuck replaying the same painful moments over and over again. I thought about the birthdays I missed, not because I wanted to, but because I had to. Bills didn't care if it was a special day. I'd always reasoned with myself, thinking, it's for them, they'll understand someday. But now I wondered if they ever noticed at all. Did they ever care that I was working double shifts to make sure there were gifts on the table and a cake to cut? Then there were the vacations we never took. I had promised myself and them that one day we'd go somewhere special. Every year, I told my wife, next summer, we'll make it happen. But the next summer never came. Something always came up, a car repair, school expenses, or just not enough time off work. I thought the sacrifices were worth it, but now I couldn't help but feel like I'd been the only one sacrificing anything at all. The dreams I abandoned hit me the hardest. I used to paint. It wasn't just a hobby, it was my passion. The thing that made me feel alive, but after the kids came into my life, I put the brushes away. There was no time, no space, and honestly, no energy left for something as selfish as art. I told myself it was okay, that building a family was more important than chasing a dream. But sitting there in the silence of my car, I realized I hadn't just given up painting, I had given up myself. And for what? For a family that didn't even see me as one of their own. My wife, the woman I thought loved me, had been lying to me for years. My stepchildren, the ones I tried so hard to connect with, told me to relax because I wasn't their real dad. All this time, I thought I was building something real, something unshakable. But the truth hit me like a gut punch. I was just a placeholder, someone filling in until they didn't need me anymore. For years, I believed that if I just worked hard enough and loved deeply enough, I could create a happy family. But now I could see it. I had been living for people who didn't see me, who didn't value me, who didn't love me the way I loved them. And in that moment, I realized something else. I didn't know who I was outside of them. In the days that followed, the first thing I did was let go of one of my jobs. I needed time to breathe, to think, and to figure out what my next step would be. For years, I had put my needs at the bottom of the list. Now I decided to put them at the top. Even though quitting that job meant less money, it was a decision I had to make for myself. I understood that all my sacrifices meant nothing to them. I realized I was the only one fighting to keep this family together, and I couldn't keep fighting alone. One afternoon, while everyone was out, I finally made my choice. I grabbed a suitcase and started packing. I didn't take much, just the essentials. A few clothes, my work tools, and the pictures I couldn't bear to leave behind. Before I left, I wrote a note and left it on the kitchen counter where they would see it. I thought love meant standing alone for everyone else. I see now that no one is standing with me. I deserve more. Goodbye. I didn't write it out of anger or to hurt anyone. It was my last attempt to explain what they never seemed to hear when I spoke. As I walked out the door with my suitcase in hand, I paused for a moment and looked back at the house. This had been my home for years, but now it felt like just another building. I closed the door behind me, locked it, and slipped the key under the mat. I didn't plan to come back. Driving away was harder than I expected. As I drove, I thought about all the things I'd given up, my dreams, my time, even my peace of mind. But for the first time in years, I felt like I was finally doing something for myself. The pain of leaving was real, but so was the freedom that came with it. I didn't know what the future held, but I knew I wouldn't spend it standing alone for people who wouldn't stand with me. I know some of you watching this might feel like you're in the same situation. Maybe you're working yourself into the ground for people who don't see you, don't appreciate you, or worse, take advantage of you. Let me tell you something, you don't have to lose yourself just to make others happy. That's not strength, that's not loyalty, that's neglecting your own worth. If there's one thing I've learned from all this, it's that respect, real respect, is just as important as love. You can't build a life with people who don't respect you. You can't pour into others when your own cup is empty. So here's my advice, take a step back and ask yourself, are the people in your life standing with you? Or are they just standing by while you do all the work? If it's the latter, you need to make a choice. It might be the hardest thing you've ever done, but walking away from people who don't value you is the first step toward valuing yourself. And don't wait for someone to come and rescue you, no one is coming to save you. That's a hard truth I had to learn, but you know what? You don't need anyone to save you, you're enough. You just have to believe it. I know it hurts to leave behind the life you built, even when it's breaking you. But trust me, there's freedom in choosing yourself. There's peace in saying enough is enough. You deserve to be surrounded by people who see your worth, who stand with you, and who love you for who you are. Not for what you can give them. So what do you think? If you were in my shoes, would you have stayed and tried to fix things, or would you have walked away like I did? Have you ever had to make a choice like this, to choose yourself over people who didn't value you? Let me know your thoughts in the comments, I'm curious to hear your perspective. And if this story resonates with you, or if you know someone who needs to hear it, please like and share this video. Thanks for watching, and remember, sometimes the hardest choices lead to the greatest freedom.